Good afternoon, Darbe Nokes, the Credit Cow, and you are listening to the hometown station AM 1220 KHTS. And I hope everybody is keeping cool today. It's a little hot out there, and I've got a hot story this morning about credit. You know, we're here at KHTS, and I'm here in particular to let you know about a lot about credit, how to protect your family, your credit, your finances, and your future. And this morning, you know, I got a call yesterday from a gentleman that had a bankruptcy on his credit report. And he basically said, I'm out of bankruptcy. It's been 3 years. I have a 7-year bankruptcy and I'm out of bankruptcy, but I went to go buy a car and it's still on my credit report. Why is that? Shouldn't the bureaus take that off of my credit report? And I sat there for 1 second. I go, do you think the bureaus are government agencies? And he goes, aren't they? And I go, no, they're privately held $4 billion companies that basically are paid to report, but they report incorrectly 80% of the time. So if you want that bankruptcy off your credit report, you are going to have to dispute that, and you're going to have to hire an expert company like the company I work with to take that off. So we have, put him in the restoration process, and in the first 45 days, he'll be able to go into a dealership. And I also let this gentleman know as well, when you have a bankruptcy on your credit, depending on if it's a 7, 11, 13, usually after you have filed the bankruptcy, there's a lot of things on your credit that are misreported, that should have been included in the bankruptcy, but that was not. Et cetera. And so you really, unfortunately, things happen, bad things happen to good people, good things happen as well. But if you are in that position and you've had to make that decision to file bankruptcy, it's a very good idea, and it's a good idea for all the listeners as well. But you need to know what your credit report says. You need to take a look at it. And I mention it every week, and I'm going to mention it again. You get one free report a year through all three bureaus, and by going to www.annualcreditreport.com, that you can receive one from each bureau. There are 3 bureaus. There's Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. They all have their particular score. When you take those 3 scores and you put them together, that is your FICO score. And, it can be different from each. Sometimes on Experian, they'll report, so there will be something on that report, but it will not be on the other reports. So it's a very good idea to take a look at where you're at. If you've had to file bankruptcy, take a look at that and make sure that it's being reported correctly, number one. And number two, realize if you have a bankruptcy or a public record like a short sale or a foreclosure or a repo or even a judgment's tax lien, that you do have options. We consumers have options, and we have a governed right that protects us, and it's called the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And basically what it says in very layman terms is that we can dispute anything on our credit, whether it be true or not. And the bureaus, which are those $4 billion companies I told you about, privately held, and they are not even in this country, they're in India and the Philippines, they have 30 days to open up that investigation and answer. But 80% of the time, they do that incorrectly. So even if you had a short sale, bad things happen to good people, and you were in that real estate crunch of what happened to many not very long ago, you can still look at repairing your credit, restoring your credit. And United Credit, who I work with and have for 4.5 years, and started out as a brand advocate. I actually was a customer of United Credit in the beginning, and they were able to help me. I had some lates on my credit. I always say, I'm grateful. I had the money to pay the bill, but I have 4 kids under the age of 17 and one who has autism, so I'm kind of busy. And I promise you, when I tell y'all this, it's really true that the bill did fall in the corner of my car. It did fall down when I went to mail it, so I was late on the bill. And then I went out and I tried to buy some property. We were selling a property in Los Angeles, and the very first thing that our banker and our lender said is, we're going to pull your credit, and those things were there. So, and they were true. I was late, but they were able to be removed within about 3 months. I had clean credit, and I have an 850 score now. So just realize that we all have options. You can contact me by going to www.darbenokes.com, and let me spell that for you. It's DarbeNokes.com. That's www.darbenokes.com. And any KHTS listener, I will be able to give you a free credit review. There is no obligation whatsoever, but we can talk about where you're at, where you need to be. What I love about the company I work with, we don't only dispute the negative items on your report, but we also give you the education that you need to raise your score, but also that you need to keep it there. And, we're going to break here in a minute. But before we do that, I wanted to talk about some credit tips, because I think that people make so many mistakes when it comes to their credit, and we really need to understand it. We need to be educated, because your credit is really your vital sign. So you need to make sure that that is in the best place, because 98% of lenders look at that credit score to lend you any money, to give you any credit card, to give you any car, any home, any private loan. So you really need to make sure it's in the best spot it can be. So you are listening to KHTS 1220, your hometown radio station, and we're going to talk about some credit tips, and we're also going to bring on Carlos Dominguez with Valencia of B&W. So excited, 18 years experience in the automobile industry. We'll be right back.